Imagine waking up one morning, only to find your peaceful life shattered by an unexpected knock at the door. Two men dressed as officers tell you they've come to seize what's yours, your home, your land, based on a fabricated story they've concocted. You didn't ask for this fight, but now you must face it. What do you do when everything you've worked for is threatened by those who don't care about your rights? This is where the story begins. It's a tale of resilience, determination, and the fight to protect what's rightfully yours. Stick with me, because what happens next is more than just a battle for property. It's a battle for your very sense of freedom. It was a perfect still Tuesday morning, the kind that makes you feel like time itself has paused. The birds were lazily chirping, and the warmth of the sun spread across my skin as I sat on my porch sipping my coffee. For a moment, everything felt peaceful, almost too peaceful, like a storm was about to break, though I couldn't see it coming. I had always loved the tranquility of this place, the quiet, the isolation, the 2 acres of land that I had fought to keep after my parents passed. It had always been mine, no one's business but mine. But then I saw them. 2 men stood at my front gate. They wore black, tactical police-style uniforms, their badges gleaming in the sunlight. At first glance, they looked like sheriff's deputies. But something about them didn't add up. Too rigid, too rehearsed. The man on the left, a tall, stocky figure with mirrored sunglasses, took a step forward. He looked at me, his smirk as sharp as a blade. He tapped the gate, hard enough that I felt the reverberation in my chest. Behind him, the second man stood still, clipboard in hand, his eyes scanning my land, taking notes, it seemed. Something about the way he calculated each inch made my skin crawl. My heart started to race. My mind was already running through possibilities. Who were these men? Sir, the tall one said, his voice cold. This property is in violation of HOA standards. We are here to assess fines and proceed with repossession. I froze. Ho? I didn't live in any HOA. My house was not part of any community organization, not like the others in this area. This was my land, my sanctuary. My mind raced. Was this some kind of joke, a scam? I don't live in an HOA, I said flatly, trying to sound calm, though I could feel the heat rising in my chest. The bald man grinned, a thin, predatory smile that made my stomach churn. He took a step closer. You do now, he said, as though it was a simple fact, something I should accept. My stomach twisted. I had lived here for years. There was no HOA. I had fought for this land. No one had the right to take it from me. The wiry one stepped forward, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. As of last week, this neighborhood is part of the Pine Ridge HOA. Failure to comply with regulations will result in legal action. This property is under violation. I felt a chill run down my spine. Pine Ridge HOA? That didn't exist. It was a scam. They were lying. But they had official-looking papers, stamps, legal jargon. My hands tightened around the coffee mug as my pulse quickened. I took a step forward, fists clenching. Get off my property, I growled, my voice low, a simmering fury rising within me. The bald man didn't flinch. He smiled wider and turned away. The clipboard guy followed him without a word, and they both got into a black SUV, no plates, and drove off. I stood there, frozen, my heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. I turned, the fury in me simmering, and stalked back into the house. I had to act quickly. They had forged documents, but I wasn't going to let them win. This was personal now. My home, my sanctuary, nothing was going to take that from me. I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling in my gut. The anger from earlier had settled into a cold knot in my chest. The weight of the situation was settling in. Making it clear, this wasn't just some scam. It was a full-on attack. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. The county clerk's office needed to confirm what I already knew, that these men were lying. My hands were slightly trembling as I dialed the number. County clerk's office, how may I assist you? The voice on the other end was calm, too calm for the storm in my head. This is Daniel Evans, I said, forcing calm into my voice. I'm looking for records on an HOA. Pine Ridge HOA. Do you have anything on file? There was a long pause. I'm sorry, Mr. Evans. We have no record of an HOA under that name. My heart sank. Are you sure? Absolutely, she replied, a hint of finality in her tone. I hung up, the weight of her words sinking in. It was all a lie, a dangerous, calculated lie. My eyes scanned the house, the land I had fought so hard for. They were trying to take it from me. I paced the room, anger boiling inside me. I needed to act, but how? They had everything set up, fake documents, a convincing demeanor. It was more than a scam. It was an orchestrated operation. I had to be smarter, quicker. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. The message was short, but it hit me like a punch in the gut. See you tomorrow, Mr. Evans. They were coming back. I didn't have much time. I needed help. I dialed Jake's number. He picked up almost immediately. How's your aim these days? I asked, my voice low and steady. There was a brief pause, then a knowing response. Better than ever. What's going on? They'll be back tomorrow, I said, the words solidifying in my mind. I need you here. I'll be there, Jake replied, his voice calm, unwavering. I hung up, the weight of his promise grounding me. The rest of the night was a blur of preparations. I checked the security system again and again, made sure every camera was aligned perfectly. I memorized local laws, every detail mattered. I couldn't let them catch me off guard. Sleep eluded me. Every time I closed my eyes, the faces of the fake enforcers flashed in my mind. Their confident smirks, their threats, their fake documents. All of it was a reminder of how far they would go. But I couldn't back down, not now. This fight wasn't just about my land. It was about standing my ground, about showing them they couldn't take everything from me. Tomorrow would be their mistake. The morning arrived with a heavy sense of foreboding. I had barely slept. The images of the two men from the previous day still vivid in my mind. The harsh sound of the bulldozer's engine was unmistakable, and my heart skipped a beat. They were back. The tension that had built up in me the night before was now a suffocating weight, pressing down on my chest. This wasn't going to be a simple confrontation. I could feel it in my bones. I stepped out onto the porch, my breath catching in my throat as I saw the scene unfold before me. The same black SUV sat at the end of the driveway, but this time there was more. The bulldozer was idling, its engine rumbling in the still air, and 4 men in high-visibility vests stood around it. They looked like they had come prepared for a battle. Hayes was there too, standing in front of the bulldozer, his posture exuding an air of superiority. His smirk was as infuriating as it was confident. "Here we are again," Hayes said, his voice dripping with mock politeness. "You've had your time, Daniel. Now it's time to comply." I couldn't believe this was happening again. I had already made myself clear yesterday. My property was not up for grabs, but here they were trying to break me. "I told you already," I said, my voice colder this time. "I'm not in an HOA. Get off my land." Hayes didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took his time, pulling out a new document from his jacket and waving it in my face. "Not according to this," he said, his voice laced with mock authority. "This is your final warning." I snatched the paper from his hands, my fingers trembling. It looked official, but the seal was wrong. The text was too rigid, too formulaic. It wasn't real. It was a forgery. I ripped the paper in half without a second thought. "This is fraud," I said, my voice steady despite the boiling rage inside me. For a moment there was silence. The bulldozer's engine continued to rumble in the background, but for those few seconds, it felt like everything had come to a standstill. Hayes's eyes narrowed, and his grin faltered slightly. "You think this is a game?" Hayes asked, his tone low, almost menacing. "You're just making things worse for yourself." "I'm not going anywhere," I said through clenched teeth. "You're not taking my land." His gaze turned icy. "We'll see about that," he said, his voice full of malice. He stepped back, motioning to the crew. They fired up the bulldozer, and the massive machine roared to life, shaking the ground beneath me. But something inside me snapped. This was no longer just about a piece of land. This was about my dignity, my family's legacy. I wasn't going to let this man and his crew take it from me. "You will regret this," I said, my voice low and full of resolve. Hayes gave a mocking chuckle, turning to leave. "We'll be back," he said, his voice tinged with finality. As they packed up and left, the weight of what had just happened settled into me. My fists were still clenched, my heart still racing. They had tried to break me, to take everything I had, but I had fought back, and I would keep fighting. I wasn't about to let them win. The following days dragged on like an endless march. Each morning I woke up with the weight of the situation pressing down on me, but this time there was no more uncertainty. I knew what had to be done. Hayes had crossed the line and I couldn't back down now. I had spent hours preparing, going over every detail, but there was still a gnawing feeling in my stomach. Something didn't feel right. Hayes was playing a long game, and I wasn't sure how far he would go. It was the third day when I finally received a text. It's time to finish this. Daniel. The clock is ticking. My pulse raced. This wasn't just a threat anymore. It was a countdown. They were getting closer, and I could feel the pressure mounting with every passing second. I immediately dialed Jake. I needed him here. Not just for backup, but for reassurance. If anyone knew how to handle this, it was him. He had been through hell before, and he wasn't afraid of a fight. "Jake, I need you now," I said, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to remain calm. "I'm on my way," he replied without hesitation. "We've got this, Daniel. Just stay focused." His words grounded me. With Jake by my side, I wasn't alone in this fight. The minutes ticked by as I prepared. I checked the security system one last time, making sure every camera was in place. I ran through the plans in my head, escape routes, potential threats. I had to be ready for anything. The air grew thick with tension as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the property. It was then that I heard the rumble, the unmistakable sound of the bulldozer's engine. Hayes had arrived. I stepped outside, my heart hammering in my chest. As the black SUV rolled up, I felt a wave of anger wash over me. Hayes stepped out, that same smug smile stretched across his face. But this time I wasn't afraid. I wasn't backing down. "This ends tonight," I said, my voice steady, though the adrenaline was surging through me. My hands clenched at my sides. Hayes smirked. "You think you can stop this?" he scoffed, stepping toward me. "You're just making this harder for yourself." I didn't flinch. Instead, I signaled to Jake, who took his position in the shadows. I knew we weren't alone in this anymore. Hayes had underestimated me. He was wrong to think I'd just stand by and watch him destroy everything I had fought for. "I'm not running anymore," I said, my voice stronger than before. The tension was unbearable, every second feeling like an eternity. The bulldozer roared to life, its engine shaking the ground beneath us. But this time I stood firm. "You'll regret this," I added, my tone colder, more resolute than ever. Hayes hesitated for a moment, his smirk faltering. Then he turned to his crew, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. But he didn't back off. "I'll be back," he spat, before signaling to his crew to pack up. They left without a word, the sound of their engine fading into the distance. As the dust settled, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. The battle wasn't over, but for now I had won. I wasn't going to let them win this time. I had fought for my land, my home, and I would keep fighting. The days passed like a storm building in the distance. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. The calm that had followed the first confrontation with Hayes was nothing more than the eye of the storm. The bulldozer was gone, but Hayes and his crew were not. I felt their presence looming, even if they hadn't returned. I had prepared, but something told me this fight was far from over. My phone buzzed. A message from Jake. "I'm here. Let's finish this." I read it twice, the words sinking into me like a weight I couldn't escape. This was the moment. There would be no more running, no more hiding. Hayes was coming back, and I needed to be ready. My home, my land, everything I had worked for was on the line. I grabbed my jacket and walked outside, the cool morning air biting at my skin. I felt the weight of it all pressing down on me. But there was also something else, something sharper than fear, determination. I saw them before I could reach the end of the driveway. The black SUV and the bulldozer, its engine humming in the distance. Hayes was standing by the machine, a sneer on his face. But it was different this time. His usual cocky smile had disappeared, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. "You're still here," he said. His voice colder than before, the arrogant edge in it gone. "I thought you would have given up by now." I squared my shoulders and took a deep breath. I'm not backing down, I said, my voice steady. You don't get to take what's mine. Hayes stepped forward, his face tightening with irritation. You still don't understand, do you? This isn't just about land. It's about power. It's about control. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, but I wasn't going to let him see it. I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to break me, make me feel small. But it wasn't going to work. That's where you're wrong, I said, my tone growing firmer. You can take land, but you can't take my spirit. For the first time, Hayes hesitated. His eyes flickered toward his crew, and for a moment there was doubt in them. He wasn't used to people standing up to him, and it was clear he hadn't expected this. Just then, Jake arrived, stepping into the open. His presence like a surge of energy I hadn't realized I needed. His calm demeanor was a stark contrast to Hayes's heated temper. And we've got this, Daniel, Jake said, his voice steady. Let's finish it. With Jake by my side, something changed. The tension in my chest loosened. We weren't alone anymore. Together we could do this. We had the upper hand. Hayes's expression darkened, but he didn't back off. This isn't over, he growled, signaling to his crew to get ready. But as they began to move, I realized something. We had already won. Hayes had underestimated us. I wasn't backing down, and neither was Jake. We had taken the first step in standing up to him, and that was a victory in itself. As the bulldozer began to move away, I couldn't help but feel a wave of relief wash over me. It wasn't over yet, but for the first time, I felt like I had a real chance at keeping everything I had fought for. Days had passed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was far from over. Each passing moment felt like a countdown, the quiet before something big was about to explode. Despite everything I had done to prepare, the feeling of unease only grew stronger. Hayes and his crew had disappeared for now, but I knew better than to think they were gone for good. The calm after the storm was always the most dangerous part, I reminded myself. I spent my days checking the perimeter, adjusting the cameras, making sure everything was secure. I couldn't let my guard down. The uncertainty of what was coming next weighed on me. What would I do if Hayes came back with something more than just threats this time? I couldn't afford to wait any longer. The threat wasn't just about losing property. It was about losing control, about letting someone take what was mine. Then, one afternoon, I heard the unmistakable hum of a car engine. My heart skipped a beat. It wasn't the bulldozer this time. It was a sleek black sedan, something new. The same ominous feeling settled in my chest. It was him, Hayes, and this time I wasn't sure what to expect. The car rolled up slowly, coming to a stop just short of the driveway. Hayes stepped out. He looked more composed than I had ever seen him. No longer the arrogant bully who had harassed me before. There was something different about him now, something colder, more calculated. Daniel, he said, his voice quieter than usual. You've made this difficult for both of us. I took a deep breath. There was a shift in the air. This wasn't the same Hayes who had tried to bulldoze my property. Something had changed. He wasn't just here for land anymore. He was here to claim something more, something deeper. I didn't answer immediately. I had to think. My heart was pounding, but my voice was steady. What do you want, Hayes? He looked at me, his eyes narrowing. I want what's mine, he said simply, his voice low, almost a whisper. And I'll do whatever it takes to get it. I swallowed hard, trying not to let his words get to me. It was a threat, clear and simple, but I wasn't going to let him intimidate me. You're not going to win this fight, I said, my voice stronger this time. Hayes took a step closer, his gaze never leaving mine. There was a flicker of doubt in his eyes, but he quickly masked it with a cold smile. You're making a mistake, Daniel. This is about control, and you're standing in my way. Before I could respond, Jake stepped forward, his presence giving me a sense of calm. We're not backing down, Jake said, his voice steady, unshaken. For a moment, Hayes didn't move. His eyes flicked from me to Jake, sizing us up. His confidence wavered just for a moment. It was all I needed to see. Without another word, Hayes motioned to his crew, signaling them to get ready. But I knew in that brief moment of hesitation that we had won the first round. Hayes had underestimated us, and that was his biggest mistake. The days that followed felt like an endless cycle of anticipation, each one heavier than the last. I could feel the pressure building, the uneasy calm before another storm, Hayes hadn't shown up again, but his words haunted me, echoing in the back of my mind, "This isn't over, Daniel." He had said that with such certainty, as if he knew that I would falter. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I couldn't afford to. Every morning, I went through the motions, checking the cameras, walking the perimeter of my property, making sure everything was in order. But inside, the weight of the situation was starting to get to me. I had spent years building my life, my home, and now it felt like it was all teetering on the edge of collapse. Hayes had already shown me just how far he was willing to go to take what wasn't his. How much further was he willing to push? The fear lingered, but I pushed it away. I couldn't let it control me. The only thing that mattered was protecting what was mine. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, I heard the unmistakable sound of a car engine. My heart skipped a beat. It was too familiar. The black SUV, Hayes, he was back. I stepped outside, my pulse quickening. There he was, standing beside his car, looking like he had all the time in the world. But this time there was no smirk on his face, no arrogant swagger. His expression was cold, calculating, and that scared me more than anything. "I thought I made myself clear," Hayes said, his voice low, almost soothing. "You're making a mistake, Daniel. You can't win this." I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at him, trying to read his eyes. There was something different about him. The cocky confidence was gone. He wasn't here to threaten me anymore. He was here to take control. "I'm not going anywhere," I finally said, my voice steady, but the uncertainty still gnawing at me. He smirked, but this time there was no humor in it. "You think you have a choice in this? This isn't just about the land. This is about power." His words hit harder than I expected. It wasn't about land. It was about control, something far bigger than a piece of property. He was playing a game I hadn't even realized I was a part of. Before I could respond, Jake stepped forward, his presence like a lifeline. "This ends now," Jake said, his voice quiet but firm. Hayes's eyes flicked to Jake, and for a brief moment, I saw something I hadn't seen before, doubt. Hayes wasn't sure anymore. He was rattled. "This isn't over," Hayes muttered, his tone low, frustrated. He motioned for his crew, who had been standing quietly by. Without another word, they climbed back into the SUV. As the car pulled away, I stood there, heart pounding in my chest. For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope. We had won this round, but Hayes wouldn't stop. This was only the beginning. But for now, I had my peace. I wasn't backing down. Not now, not ever. And just like that, the fight for what's mine came to a head. But the real question is, what happens next? When you stand up for what you believe in, the journey never truly ends. There's always another chapter waiting, another challenge on the horizon. If you've been with me through this battle, then I know you'll want to see what comes next. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share this story with those who need to hear it, and join me as we continue this journey together. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming.